Welcome to Lesson 1-1. That's Topic 1, Lesson 1. We're going to learn how to add, subtract, and multiply decimal numbers. Before we get started, make sure that you have a pencil, your note packet, because you're going to need to work in that, and also a nice place to work. So let's get started. This sounds like a lot of stuff, but it's pretty much all review from 5th grade, so I think you'll be okay. We've got no new vocabulary, and we're going to start with some adding of decimals. So Kim and Martin swam 50 meters. Kim finished in 50 and 9/10 seconds, and Martin took 26 hundredths of a second longer. What was Martin's time in the race, we want to know. So I drew a model so we could help visualize this. And here it is, a nice bar model. And here's Kim, and the race starts, and she swims for 50 and 9/10 seconds, and then she finishes. Well, Martin's still swimming for another 26 hundredths, and then he finishes. So we want to know the total. It looks like I'm going to add these two together, and that's what I'm going to do. Remember, with decimal addition as well as subtraction, we need to make sure that we're adding the same place values. So when I write my 50 and 9/10, I need to make sure that my tens and ones and tenths and hundredths all line up. So I have 26 hundredths, so that 2 is in the tenths place. Well, to make sure that happens, if I just line up my decimal point, I'm good to go. And there's my 6 in the hundredths place. I'm going to add these up. All right, so again, we've lined up our decimal point, and now our tenths and hundredths and ones and tens are all lined up. I'm going to put a little 0 here just as a placeholder, and now I'm going to add just like you did back in the day. So 0 plus 6 is 6. 9 plus 2 is 11. I'm going to write the 1 and carry the tens place. 1 plus 0 is 1. And 5 plus nothing is a 5. And my decimal point comes straight down. And I get 51 and 16 hundredths of a second. And that's all there is to it. That's how long Martin took to swim. You're going to try the next example. This one says, suppose Martin finished the race 47 hundredths of a second after Kim, instead of the 26 hundredths. And then what was Martin's time? And so Kim's time is the same. So that part of the model is the same. Martin, however, this is a little longer now. It's 47 hundredths. So that's the only difference in the model. And you have a nice example. Why don't you pause and go ahead and see if you can answer this question, and we'll talk about it in class tomorrow. For this next part, we're going to be dealing with subtracting decimals. In this problem, Amy ran a race in 20 and 7/10 seconds. Katie finished the race 258 thousandths of a second before Amy. And how long did it take Katie to run the race? So here's a nice bar model again showing the situation. We've got Amy running in 20 and 7/10, and Katie was before Amy earlier. So she finished earlier. She must have won the race, or at least beat Amy. And that's by 258 thousandths. And so it looks to me like if I take Amy's time, take away this 258 thousandths, I'll be left with Katie's time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract. Again, I need to subtract place values that are the same. So to do that, I'm going to line up my decimal point. And if I do that, everything will come out perfect. I'm going to put my 0 placeholders in so that I can subtract away. Now I can't take 8 away from nothing, so I'm going to regroup. I'm going to take 70 hundredths and borrow a hundredth and make it into thousandths. So I'm going to subtract. 6 from 2 is 4. Decimal point, 0, 2. And so Katie's time was 20 and 442 thousandths of a second. Okay, so now for this next problem, you're going to pause the video and give this a try. In this case, it says Katie finished 13 hundredths of a second before Amy. And now what is Katie's time? So again, Amy's time is the same. It's just how much earlier than Katie finished. And so see if you can follow the model above and solve this problem. We'll discuss it in class. For our next problem, we're going to be dealing with multiplying decimal numbers. And you remember from earlier grades, the area is length times width. And on this map, they gave us the length and the width. So I'm going to rewrite my formula. And I'm going to go ahead and substitute in for the variable L and W. Doesn't matter which is which. Couple of words of wisdom. If there's no symbol in between, like here, that's multiply. I could put a dot to mean multiply. I could put parentheses around the constants with nothing in between. That's multiply. I could do an X for multiply. I could do a star for multiply. Lots of symbols for multiply. Anyway, here we go. We're going to go ahead and write our numbers down. I like more digits on top. And when I multiply, we're not going to worry about the decimal point at first. We're just going to multiply as if there were no decimal point. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2 is 12. 5 times 3 is 15 plus 1 is 16. Now I'm going one place over, so I'm going to put a 0 in there. And I'm done with these digits. Now it's 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. And 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to add these two rows up. And I get 8,125, but that's way too big because actually I multiplied 325 times 25. I multiplied something that's 100 times too big and then 10 times too big. So I got an answer that was way big. Now if I estimated, that's about 3 times about 3, about 9. So I could guess that the decimal point's going to go between the 8 and the 1. Okay, but let's go ahead and follow the algorithm. We're going to count decimal places after the decimal point. So we have 2 decimal places here after the decimal point, 1 here, 2 here, 1 here, for a total of 3 decimal places. And I'm going to move my decimal point over 3 places. And so I get my 8 and 125 thousandths. That's more like it. That's pretty close to 9. So the area of this map is 8 and 125 thousandths feet squared. Okay, so if I go on to practice, we have some practice problems here, and I'd like you to work these out as well. You can go ahead again and pause the video to work them out. We will talk about them tomorrow in class. And that's it for today's lesson.